Start chapter 1 of financial planning. Just a very basic chapter is kind of set the table and help you understand really what this class is about. A few goals we'll talk about for this particular chapter. You can see what they are here. There's several learning goals throughout the chapter, and you can just take a look at those. How will this affect you? Think of it like this. What you learn in this class is information that will help you throughout your lifetime. It will help you make good decisions. It'll help you maybe confirm things that you already know. Certainly everybody will learn a few things they didn't know about financial planning. But basically making sure that your values line up with how you spend money and go about saving money. Having information to make decisions, and then talking about what financial planning is and that process of going through and making good and accurate decisions with your money. Every chapter starts out with one of these things here, and I'll let you look at those on your own. Basically, it's facts or fantasies, and you can usually just look at those and usually figure them out. But they get answered throughout the chapter. So personal financial planning is just really a process that considers what's important to you in terms of your financial affairs. Where does your money come from? Where does your money go? And then what are your goals in terms of your finances? Is it a certain standard of living, accumulating wealth, retirement, buying a home, buying a certain vehicle? What are those goals? And then what's the process you go through to achieve those goals? This is a 6-step process you go through to do this. So number one is simply define what your goals are. What are your financial goals? And we'll learn here soon that those change depending on where you are in your lifetime. The goals of somebody that's in college or a recent college grad will be very different than somebody in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and so on. Clearly you can think through why that might be in terms of your age, your accumulated wealth, your earnings potential, your earning power, excuse me, what you're trying to save for. Just think of where your parents are at, or your grandparents, or aunts and uncles, where they are in their life compared to you right now, and clearly you'll see there are differences. So define your goal, whatever that goal is. Maybe the goal today is just simply to graduate, knowing that you may have some debt, student loans or whatever that is, and then to get a job using your degree that pays you good enough to pay off your loans, be able to afford a decent place to live. Maybe you rent for a while, and part of your financial goal is to save so that at some point you can have enough money to put down on a house or whatever you want to buy, or a newer vehicle, whatever that is. And that's why you need to have those goals. And what am I saving for? What am I trying to accomplish with my money? Have a plan. Implement those plans once you've developed them. Of course, you will always have to monitor any plan that you ever do in life will always need monitoring and adjustment based on things changing. Using financial statements to evaluate the results of your budgets and plans, take corrective action as needed. We'll talk about what those are in future chapters. And then, of course, redefine the goals and your strategies based on circumstances changing. Clearly, if you were to get married, some financial goals will have to change. If you begin to have children, again, financial goals will have to change. So as life happens, as circumstances change, your goals need to align with those and need to adjust to reflect those changes. So just good financial planning will help you have flexibility in your life in terms of things you would like to do, an improved standard of living. So you can spend your money more wisely and you can accumulate wealth, which is really the whole point of financial planning, accumulating enough wealth so that you can have the lifestyle that you would like and maybe a comfortable retirement when you're done with your working years. So for financial plans, basically the financial plans are what do you want to do, right? What are you trying to achieve with your finances? The actions after you develop those plans are make decisions about what to buy, how much credit will you take, will you use credit cards, loans, insurance, having the right kind of insurance coverage, making investment decisions, and of course then retirement and estate decisions, which all turns into financial results. So a lot of the chapters in the class will deal with what is a plan, what are the various actions you take, and then how do you monitor those results. So just some averages, and this is a fairly recent book. You can see the date at the bottom is 2017. It was actually came out about January of a year ago is when it came out. So the data here is pretty accurate. So the average median income 46.7. What are people worth? 81.2. The value of a home. It's kind of just interesting data. Is what do people have in savings and various different types of savings and so on. So financial goals, again, just simply results that an individual wants to attain, such as buying a home, building a college fund for children, achieving financial independence, controlling living expenses, having an understanding of what it costs to live, and being fairly frugal, at least making good decisions about how to spend your money, setting up retirement plans, and having college education for kids set up. Some myths about financial goals. Emergency funds that lasts 3 months should be adequate. It should actually be more than that. Be able to retire at 65 and have plenty to live on, not without some planning. Having a few $1,000s a year should provide enough to fund my college education. For children, probably not enough. And the rule of thumb that I will need 70% of my pre-retirement income to manage nicely in retirement. So potentially those aren't all true. Let's put it that way. So in terms of financial planning, it's always good to kind of have some time horizons in mind. 6 years or more is considered long-term, intermediate 2 to 5 years, short-term basically just think 1 year or less. And clearly your goals may change depending on where you're at. And so this is kind of important, the personal financial planning life cycle, kind of where you are in terms of your age right now. What your age is now will definitely impact what your goals are. They clearly change as you get older, as you go through high school, college, obtain your degree, begin to start a career, usually at an entry-level type position, build your way up, think about retirement and those kinds of things. So clearly it's important to understand where you are in your financial planning life cycle to help you set goals. This is just a really good example of the time value of money and getting started sooner rather than later when it comes to planning for retirement. So an IRA is an individual retirement account. It's money that you can set aside. There's some tax benefits potentially depending on what type of IRA that you choose. The better. So basically just thinking about this is the earlier you start, the more time you have, the more compounding you have, and you're better off. So what they're telling you here is that if you earn 5% for 25 years, you'll have $95,454 at age 65. But if you started 10 years sooner at age 30, you'd have almost double that, $186.41, which just goes to tell you about what the power of the time value of money. And then it kind of just gives you an example of that with the graph, that $1,000 that will earn 6% per year, you can see in 40 years it'll be worth $10,000. At 4%, that'd be worth $4,800. So it just kind of tells you those last 10 years are really critical to make that fund grow. Just some special planning in terms of your finances. 2 incomes if you're married, employee benefits in terms of when you begin to work, what kind of benefits does your employer offer, which benefits do you want to take advantage of, what happens if the economy gets a little tight, what if you are going through a lean time, you lost your job or underemployed, something like that, or just any other life change. Maybe it's some kind of a health issue that prevents working, whatever that might be. So just some more information about 2-income family, facts or fantasies. You can read through those on your own. The answers are throughout the chapter. Professional financial planners is simply an individual that will help you make decisions. I am very aware of several very reputable financial planners. Several of them are graduates of USF. If anybody would like a recommendation for a financial planner, please let me know. Just send me an email or just let me know, and I'll be happy to give you some names of some people that if you want to visit with them, they will very gladly help you up with a plan. Most planners are earning some kind of a commission based on what they sell you, if it's some type of a mutual fund or insurance, whatever that is. That's pretty common. Not every company works that way. Um, some may charge a higher fee based on the complexity of the financial plan they're creating for you. Just know that for most people just graduating college, that's probably not going to be a major problem. Or you could go through a hybrid approach. But the vast majority are making some kind of a commission base. Insurance, definitely, that's the main earnings for anybody selling insurance is commissions. Same thing with mutual funds, stuff like that. So, just kind of take that with a grain of salt that the person that you're working with will get a commission, so they may be more inclined to steer you to a product that gives them a higher commission. A reputable planner, though, will not do that. They will just try to figure out simply what are the products, what do you need, and sell you what you need, as opposed to what gets them the most money in their pocket. And that's why I say, if you would like some names of some very reputable people who can help you with that, please let me know. There's all kinds of designations. Anybody who is in the financial services industry, there's all kinds of designations that can be earned to show that this person knows something about what they're talking about. Not everybody necessarily has these designations. Doesn't mean you have to have them in all instances, but quite a few of these. So typically you want to try to find somebody who has some designations. To sell insurance, somebody has to be licensed through the state that they live in. To sell mutual funds, you have to be licensed. I mean, there's just a certain amount of licensing you have to do no matter what. But the people who have these particular credentials, basically just saying that they know, they're kind of experts more or less, is one way to think about it. The financial planning environment, clearly there's a lot of regulation with financial planning, and if you meet with a financial planner, they're going to have you sign a bunch of stuff. They're going to walk you through a bunch of documents, explain them to you, have you do sign stuff. Basically, just what they're doing is explaining what their role is, explaining they'll explain to you how they get paid. It has all kinds of disclosures that they have to have on hand. And basically don't sign those documents until you understand them. If you've got a question, ask. But they have to do them because the government says you have to. Basically making sure that the consumer has all the information in front of them through the representative they're working with to help them understand what's going on. So there's a lot of regulation around it. If you are a higher wealth individual, higher income individual, tax planning becomes very important, and so quite often you're hiring somebody to help you with that to legally minimize your tax burden, and so on. So just kind of think of it from that perspective. There is a lot of regulation around financial planning. Also, just know that obviously the economy goes up and down. There's fluctuations all the time with the economy. And that is important to understand when it comes to financial planning, because if you have a job that is cyclical in terms of, if my business, if there's a recession in my industry, may be hurt by that, if it's hospitality or travel or, just depending on certain industries are more susceptible to fluctuations in the economy than others, those are things to consider and think about in terms of financial planning. And then basically what determines your personal income? Clearly education, right? There's lots of studies that say, if you have a college degree, that's no guarantee of a certain income by any means. You need to have a degree in a industry that people will hire you, right? Clearly that's important. Some degrees there is not a lot of demand. You're not going to make a lot of money. Other degrees there is a lot of demand, and there, you can make a lot. So you can see some examples here on the screen of what some average salaries are. And this is based on national averages, probably with people that have some experience. Clearly, if you are just graduating with the degree with some of these, you won't make necessarily this much without a few years worth of experience. And some of these require more education than others. A lawyer, obviously, you'd have to go through law school for 3 years and take a test at the end of that. So clearly, the more education you need, typically the higher the salary you'll end up with when you're done. This just also just shows you, based on your age and your level of education, what the typical median income is. This is based on government studies and things like that. So you can just kind of see the different levels of degrees and your age and how that corresponds to the income that you'll be making. So that's just a very quick setup for Chapter 1, which is a very basic chapter. As you read the chapter, it's really important to read the chapters, by the way. There's always, throughout the chapter, there's some stuff in here that I always find interesting. They always have a little some facts in here that I think you'll find interesting. They will also have various exhibits that are always in kind of a light blue, and those typically have some really good information that's very easy to read, that I want to encourage you to read. So there's Exhibit 1.4, 1.5, 1.6. There's several of them, but they're light blue. I highly recommend you read those, just in terms of helping you understand the material just a little bit more. And that's Chapter 1. So we'll, as you listen to these, just kind of read the chapter, listen to these, and that will get you ready for the homework that you'll be doing in Cengage throughout the class.